webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fan-friggin-tastic Thursday. Beautiful day out here in sunny Florida. Absolutely loving the weather today. A little bit cool, but yummy. Welcome everybody to our Thursday meeting. Hope everybody's having a great open enrollment so far. We have been looking at the numbers and really seeing where everybody is making out and how everybody is doing. And some of us are really doing a great job. Others of us really just need to pick up the pace overall. The typical agent now is well over 200 applications. You got to giving yourself those day in and day out goals and making sure that your teams are hitting all of those goals. And things seem to be working pretty smoothly overall. I know that we all probably have some headaches here and there, whether those headaches may be billing headaches, maybe provider headaches, just the normal par for the course, but nothing that is outlandish or that we're seeing that's absolutely crazy and not working well. So as we're going to talk a little bit about that, if you've got some specific questions or scenarios that you're running up against that you're not able to address, let me know so that way I can address them as we're getting into this today. And I want to first talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on with the competition and the stance that Florida Blue is taking at this point. And it's very careful that I really want everybody to listen really carefully, because this goes for agents as agency owners, agents who you may have put on who you don't know exactly what they're doing, agents that you don't have a relationship with, and this is all related to people that are brokering. So South Florida is rampant with this. Frank Merlino, the area manager down in South Florida, Sophie started yesterday and the day before as well. Seed calling our agents, seed calling people, and what they are doing is they are looking for people who are brokering. Now, I know that seems a little crazy because there's not a lot of competition inside the marketplace. However, as we get into South Florida and we talk about Broward, as we talk about Miami-Dade with Molina, you may have agents who are not following the rules, and this is going to put their contract at jeopardy. And if they are an agent underneath your agency contract at jeopardy as well. This is something that we've always talked about, but it's really coming full circle right now. And Florida Blue is, they're just making sure that everybody is following the rules. So it's really not typically a big deal. We all know the rules. We all follow the rules correctly. When it comes to Medicare, we only sell Florida Blue. When it comes to ACA, we only sell Florida Blue. And what they're seeing is they're seeing not a lot of production in the Medicare space. So this is leading them to believe that people are not being exclusive and not being the, just selling Florida Blue. And it seems crazy, but if you can imagine you're an agency owner and you normally do 300, 400, 500 Medicare Advantage policies in your organization, and this year you have not. You haven't renewed your book. You haven't spoken to your clients. You're not putting on new business. They're questioning these things. They're reaching out to the agents in a seed call capacity. They're checking appointments. I'm getting calls on a daily basis about agents who have other appointments with other carriers. What are they doing, especially if their production is not at a respectable level? So when I say a respectable level, I mean we got a production report for most of the MAAs, and just looking at where everybody is at. I'm going to try and pull it up while we're talking. And so that way you guys can kind of see where you're laying out, where things are happening, and, where you stack up against the competition. So when it comes to the non-exclusivity, I just want to pause for a moment before I move on. Do we all have a really clear understanding of what I'm talking about? Just want to make sure. I mean, we've got 52 people on the phone today. Does anybody have a question about that exclusivity and how it works? I just want to make sure that everybody's clear. I don't want anyone getting into trouble. I don't want anyone losing their contract. I mean, we've got too much to lose. You know, if you as an agency owner, you as an agent, if this is your only gig in town and then we don't have Florida Blue anymore, what are you going to do? Just a big deal. All right, so what I'm going to put up on the screen now as we talk a little bit about production is just kind of looking where you guys all stack up. This is something that I can't send out right now. We should get a new one. This is based upon last week's submissions, so you can see where everybody is at on this list. I'm going to scroll down slow, but you can see that some of the agencies that are even on this call today, I mean, if you are already 30 days into open enrollment, we are 1 month in, and, you don't have, as an agency, 100 applications at this point. It's kind of laughable, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. There's a problem. I don't know if it's our engagement with the community, it's how we're doing business, but as you look at some of these numbers, and they're going to go down as I go down this list, quite frankly, there are agents out there. I'll give you a good example. I want to give a kudos to one of my team members in-house. Yesterday alone, he wrote 23 applications. He's written 53 applications in the last 3 days. Special agent Scott Webb in our office. It's just a matter of, if you're in this list here and we're getting down to the 20s or 30s, we really just have to think about how do we get you more production. What are you doing to build your business? Are you not engaging these people? And as I come down here a little bit further, I mean, we can see here as we look at some of these other names. Now, this is last week. This is submissions through IST that Blue Cross has pulled. So some of you are probably saying, well, hey, I don't process my business through IST. And then my question to you is, why not? We've been training for the last year about how we do things, what are the appropriate measures and how you're going to process applications. But I mean, if you're down here towards this bottom, and geez, I hope we don't have a lot of people down the bottom here with all these single digits, this is, it's just not an acceptable level. It's just not acceptable at all. The entire MAA channel, right, as of last week was at 15,000 applications. What percentage of that business was yours? We as a CGA, IST in our office direct, we are approximately right now at about 14,500 applications, and that's just one organization. Now, granted, I know many of you do other things. You've got other things that are going on, PNC, whatever it is that your main focus of your business is. But let me tell you, if your main focus is health insurance and you bleed blue, these numbers you should be at the top here. Definitely should be at the top here. So that being said, there are some hurdles. Is it hurdles in what we're getting in front of people? Is it hurdles in how you're processing the business? So I mentioned that some of you are processing business. One of my good friends who's an MAA on the program, he's got about 1,200 applications that he's done so far, and he hasn't processed them through IST. He had some problems with IST. He's doing them through the marketplace. We were talking yesterday. And I said, buddy, I said, here's what's going to happen. I said, at the end of the year when we go, we're going to be doing commission research until we're blue in the face because we're going to be hunting down these applications because the way that the communication is coming from the marketplace to Florida Blue. So I want to urge everybody on this call to make sure you're processing your applications and make sure those applications are done through IST. It gives you an extra level of comfort, shall we call it, when we are going through and when we're processing these applications to get paid. So make sure that you're doing that if you can at all possible times. Also, please be reminded that if you do a renewal for a Florida Blue member and that renewal is not completed through the IST portal, then you won't be paid either. Now, there are some of us that have applications, and I want to touch on this a little bit, that applications that are renewals are not supported through Florida Blue. Unfortunately, due to the rules that Florida Blue set up, we won't be compensated for an active renewal on that process if it is not done through IST. So we talked last week, the week before, and actually we didn't talk last week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Oh, geez, so silly. Happy Turkey Day to all. When there are certain cases, and I spoke with an agent yesterday about some of the issues, is when you have multiple tax households. And even to simplify that, if I have 2 children on a single application. Well, Florida Blue does not support that through IST. You have to do the children separately. And if those children are done separately, you will not be able to access the appropriate subsidy amount unless you do them together. You will have to do that through the marketplace directly. And when I say through the marketplace directly, I want everyone to understand that we're talking about on healthcare.gov. And when we're on healthcare.gov, we are going to create an account for our customer. We're going to log in using a username and password. We have to get the eligibility in that capacity, and then enroll all on the marketplace through the user account. That is the only way that you can separate the family into groups. So for example, if I have a mother who has 3 children, the mother is not taking coverage, but the 3 children are, and they are subsidy eligible. I can't put those 3 children on one application. So therefore, I would create the eligibility through IST if I'd like. Then what I will do is I will have to create an account for that member. Go to login, either create an account. If I don't have one, create. Otherwise, I'm going to log in with their past account. And then you will find the eligibility. There's a button in there that says Find My Application. If you can find that application, you're good to go. And then once you pick the plan and enroll, it will ask you if you want to separate into groups. If it is 4 members, that they are all 4 brothers or 4 sisters, or a combination of brothers and sisters, but there is no adult parent on the plan, this is the way that you're going to have to do your plan selection. If mom wants one plan, dad wants another, that's the only way that you can do this plan selection, and that's through separation into groups. So thank you. I was talking with someone yesterday, didn't realize that we should cover that again, but I know that that's something that we probably are having some questions on. So making sure you're processing the applications, you're keeping appropriate notes and documentation about it's completed, making sure that you understand how this is all working. It's very important for our success this year once again, and again, we are going to have another successful year. So let's go through some questions that have rolled in while I've been talking, and I'm sure others of you have the same question. I have a client that wants me to enroll them in a platinum plan and then switch them to a bronze plan at the end of January for a 3/1 change date. The reason he wants to do this is because he wants to get an outpatient procedure done in January. Technically, this is a completely legitimate process. Is that correct? Yes. So open enrollment will still be there. So you can enroll that member for a platinum plan. You will be compensated for a platinum program because we are paying on all metal levels even through open enrollment. SCP is another story. We don't know yet. Then what will happen is that you are still in open enrollment until 1/31, and during that period you can change his plan because he can effectively make a change at that point in time, but you will not be compensated twice. You will be compensated once, and then that would be it. There would be no compensation on the second work, but that is a completely legitimate way of doing things. Absolutely. Doesn't sound good, doesn't sound all warm and fuzzy, but it works. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, say we have a client who is getting a B variant plan based on projected income. However, when they go to file their 2017 taxes, they have more income than expected due to a raise at work or something similar, and they were not entitled to the cost sharing. Does the government not only penalize them for the subsidy, but also for the cost sharing? Wait. Great question, Jason. No, the only monies that will have to be paid back are the subsidy monies. So the cost share variant, because it's an estimate, now granted, they'll never have to pay that cost share variant. Remember that in the event that they have to do a payback, there are certain payback limits that are applicable for our membership. We spoke about this during our training processes. If you look at the chart that is on your screen, as long as they stay within the 100 to 400% of the federal poverty level, their payback will be capped out. They will have a maximum penalty. If they fall outside of the 400% of the federal poverty level, then at that point they will have to pay back the entire tax credit received. However, they will not have to ever pay back the cost share variance. Also keep in mind, Jason, or anyone else who has this question, if the customer changes their income on the marketplace application with a variant more than 10% of what has showed up on their tax filings in the last year, that they may be asked to prove that income. I have met several people who were contracted with an AFLAC as well as Blue. I thought that was not allowed. No, no one said that that is not allowed. AFLAC does not sell major medical health insurance, so therefore they can be contracted with Florida Blue. They still have to follow the same exclusivity levels for Medicare Advantage, Medicare overall, and under 65 products, so they would still have that level of exclusivity, just like all of us on this call today. Let's talk a little bit about our question about Medicare. I have a Medicare Lifetime HMO in Pinellas. We've got a couple of those too. It has been discontinued. Members have a loss of coverage. Does this qualify them for an SEP? Yes, it does. Does this allow for a 30-day special enrollment period extension for these members? Actually gives them 60, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So what will happen is, Peter, that they will be able to enroll after December 7th with an SEP. And what some agents are doing, they are accessing the SEP when they're writing the coverage now, so they don't have another SEP, because you can only use an SEP once. So you have to make sure that that's important, that you're checking that. But yes, after December 7th, continuing after December 31st, they will continue to have an SEP to come back to Blue if they have buyer's remorse. If they went to Aetna or United and they want to come back to Blue, they will have that opportunity to do so. If you don't get with your clients in time, and that goes for any member that's losing their coverage. So not only is that related to Pinellas, but in Broward that is going to affect about 3,000 members. Where local PPOs are eliminating and HMOs up in the Panhandle and up in the Jacksonville style area. Also, that's going to be affecting those people. They will all have an SEP. I have received negative feedback about Blue Select from 3 to 4 members who aren't happy with the provider network. Can't find a good doctor or specialist. How do I respond to this feedback? Pick a different doctor. The Blue Select network, it's not the network. If it's the doctor they're not happy with, well, then tell them to pick a different doctor. You know, the Blue Select network doesn't, isn't going through and saying, I'm just going to pick all the nice doctors who are happy and have a smile on their face every day. It is not a matter of that. They have to meet certain criteria, and they may not find a doctor that they like. They could just switch to a different doctor. I want to use a particular situation and description of the Blue Select, My Blue, and Blue Options that I think is very relatable. And I learned this from one of my agents, and I've been talking about it a lot because I think it helps our customers understand how they pick their network. And picking their network is like picking their cable package. Well, what do you mean, Mark? Well, if I can only afford X number of dollars per month, that number may only be applicable for a small cable package. I may only be able to look at 20 or 30 channels. That's all I can afford. But that's what I have to deal with. If I don't like it, I mean, I can't watch Showtime if I can't afford a better cable package. If I can spend a little bit more money, I get more channel selection. I get more options. I can now watch A&E. Now I can watch Skinamax if that's the case. Now, if I get the big Mambo Jumbo package, I could have everything, including the NFL package. I can do the basketball package. Now I've got Blue Options. So if you relate it to your customers where you could have whatever you want, here are the different options, but is it worth the money? Are you really going to watch all 5,000 channels? Do you need all of those 5,000 channels? Or can you find a channel that you're happy with in one of these other packages? And I think for the majority of our clientele and the people that we talk to, this helps relate it to them in a very understandable manner. Hopefully that helps you. But Blue Select is a great network. I mean, it works well. It's not Blue Options, but Blue Options is way more expensive. And, You get what you pay for if you need that size network, but you can find appropriate specialists, hospitals, and doctors in all of our networks. They have to meet certain criteria, otherwise we can't even have the network. Talking about network, someone's bringing up IMA Group in Fort Myers. Lee County is no longer in the Medicare network. Yes, they are no longer in the Medicare network, but they're still showing in the directory. I don't know how to trust the directory because I don't know other doctors that have been dropped. Karen, it is a normal process. We've had a lot of ups and downs with the provider directory. It's pretty accurate, but there are inconsistencies. If you don't have the trust factor in the directory, and you're not feeling warm and fuzzy about it, you can pick up the phone and call agent services and get a reference number for your call. Your call will be recorded. I know that that is not a really good answer, but I wouldn't even call the doctor's office and check with them because they typically don't know. So I would call agent services, but make sure you get a reference number. So that way if you end up getting a CTM or you end up with an unhappy customer, you have records showing that you called Florida Blue and they gave you the wrong information. It wasn't you. And these things happen. Is there interest paid back on a subsidy? Oh, heavens, no. No. If you have to pay back your subsidy, do they charge you interest for paying back that subsidy? Well, that would be a good way to get us out of a national debt. However, the answer is no. I had a family yesterday with a subsidy, so I signed into Florida Blue, then went to healthcare.gov and searched for the 2017 app, found it, click on update. The next screen showed that the very end, when you go back to Florida Blue, do the plan selection and enrollment, went back to retrieve the app again, but never showed me on any of the screens. Has anyone had this happen? Yes, you need to clear your cookies or run an incognito window. So it's typically because you've got something jacked up on your computer, a cookie or some sort of setting. You can also run an incognito window. If you don't know what that is, on the right-hand top of your Chrome, it'll say incognito window. Open up a window like this. That way you could then search for it again. That will help, and you should be able to find it. Outside of the normal of spelling or some sort of inconsistency, making sure that you don't have a space after the name and all the other things that we've talked about, or all the other troubleshooting processes for finding that application. But it's there. You just gotta find it. All right. What happens if a person gets a C variant plan, then 5 months later gets an A variant or standard plan? If they have met their deductibles, those just carry over. So they would carry over from one plan to another. They call those accumulators, and the accumulators have to go with the new plan. But the deductible will increase. They will not have satisfied that deductible. So then you have to balance with your member. Is it best to disclose that or wait until just pay the money back at the end of the year? And that's a conversation that you're going to have with your member. Does a loss of extra help qualify an SEP for an MAPD? Gain or loss of LIS, yes. Maximum out of pocket, if it's satisfied, Corey, it would still, the accumulator would go over to the new plan. So if I had a C variant, I had accumulated all of my $950. Now I move to an A variant, they're only going to move over $950. If a client had a marketplace plan for 2016, had set up on auto pay, should we be taking a payment? We've covered this a super number of times, Hallie. And everybody on the call, you need to be understanding when to collect payments. There is a job aid for that. You need to review that once again, please, and know when to make payments on and off marketplace. There is a cheat sheet that we shared with you. If you collect the payment, I had an agent in my office yesterday did this. They collected a payment 3 days ago from a member that did not have to. We drafted the new 2017 premium from that member. Now their January premium is paid, but they're getting a bill for December. Okay? So you have to know when and when not to take those monies. So please be careful with that. Is the sample that I showed you in, no, that chart is not in Dropbox. We've covered it through our training. I will put it in the chat function. It is just a third-party website that you can go and check out. Where did my little chat function go here? I don't know. We'll send it out to everybody. It's not a big deal. We've covered it a bunch of times, so that Obamacare payback chart right here, if I'll zoom in, you guys can take a look at the, take a look here. Repayment levels, Obamacare facts. Moving on. All right. Did the clinicianistas or doctor reach its capacity in not accepting new members? Absolutely not. We actually have a new clinicianistas here in the Tampa Bay area. There was the grand opening last night. Very great facility, great people. The community is absolutely loving it. So know that they have not reached capacity. They are still moving forward, opening up new clinics. It looks like there's going to be 2 new clinics opened in Broward County as well. Those of you that are working in Broward County should be super excited for that. The Latino community is absolutely loving Clinicianistas. It's fantastic. Great facilities. They do everything there in a one-stop shop. Most of the services at a zero or low copay. Because they're so tied with Florida Blue, these are great opportunities for you to access those. I'm enrolling about 80% of my prospects into my Blue network. Fantastic. I noticed that one of the doctors working in nearby Clinicianistas is no longer listed in the directory. Are they still working at the Clinicianistas? You're going to need to contact agent services or contact the provider's office itself to find out, but they are not at capacity, trust me. Does Blue Select now cover out-of-network emergencies similar to Blue Care? No, Justin, absolutely not. We covered out-of-network services with our team once again the other day. I'll roll through that, and I'll just kind of touch on balance billing to make sure that you understand that. We don't need anybody getting an E&O claim today. Can you briefly touch on how to prevent double billing? Yeah, only collect billing when it is supposed to be collected, Marcus. Follow the rules that we've put together. Make sure that you use the job aids and the direction, and you have to understand if they're on Marketplace and you're doing a renewal, okay, if they're changing networks, you need to collect money. If they're not, you don't. If they're on APO, the APO is going to stay. If they're changing networks at all, you need to collect money. I'm on a call, sir. If they can't afford what, sir? Then you just put the payment out until December 30th. You just schedule the payment. There is a schedule payment feature that is available. So you schedule that. What's that? Well, then good luck. It's not going to get issued if they don't pay in time. You better, yeah, you have to get some sort of form of payment because it's probably not going to happen, depending on the community that you're dealing with as well. None of my brand new 2017 on or off marketplace applications are displaying in my search accounts. Should they be displaying there? Yes, they should be displaying there if they've paid. If they have not paid, they are not there. If a client elects electronic communications that did not set up autopay, is the bill sent or an email? They send both. I have a family plan written through IST and on Marketplace where Blue Cross never got the file from healthcare.gov. These things happen. It has been escalated to Blue Cross and healthcare.gov, including access to care. So I'm assuming, Kevin, that this is a December 1st effective date. It has been over 2 weeks. Oh, maybe it's a November 1st. I apologize. And it is still not issued business. Anything else I should do? You should communicate the details with that, Kevin, to Ms. DeFalco. She'll get it to leadership at Florida Blue for access to care issues. Some of the new locations for Clinicianistas are not coming up in Pompano, Coral Springs, and Plantation. That's because they're not open yet. Once and for all, I hear conflicting things when it's coming to Blue Select. Does Blue Select link up with other states the same as Blue Options? Yes, it does. I don't know who is telling you that it does not, Mr. Sheffield, but the Blue Select product is going to give you the same out-of-state coverage as our Blue Options. So if you come down to our provider directory and you search our doctors and hospitals nationally, you are going to come to our Blue Cross Association search. And in here you can put in the prefix of the identification card if you have it. If not, you can choose the network. And for our members that purchase Blue Options or our Blue Select, that is the PPO EPO network Blue Card, they can click on that and they can search out of state. I don't know where you would be getting conflicting information on that, but it could be agent services or somewhere else, but you know you always get the straight and skinny here on Thursday. So when you go through and search for this, if you can find the doctor here taking the Blue Card, then that doctor is going to be in network for that particular member. Now let me just add to that. There was a question earlier, and that question earlier was asking about out-of-network inside the state of Florida, and that's a much different conversation. So during our training processes, you know that we all spoke about, I'm going to pull up a summary of benefits so that way we can kind of take a look at it together. We spoke about a specific example, and I always use the same one so I don't forget it because, you know, these things happen. And we talk about a boy who got attacked by a shark, and this is a real story in New Smyrna Beach, and that boy was taken to the hospital by an ambulance, and he was taken to an out-of-network hospital. And now he got bills for out-of-network coverage. Well, what the heck are you talking about? Well, he had a particular policy, and that particular policy afforded him in and out-of-network coverage. He was brought to an out-of-network hospital, and therefore his beginning of his treatment was done in out-of-network costs. Now, if he had Blue Options and went to the same hospital, that hospital took Blue Options, then he could go there and he would be treated as in-network. He had Blue Select, went to a hospital that did not take Blue Select, and therefore was treated and received a large bill. Doesn't matter whether it's an emergency or not. If you go to out-of-network services, you're paying out-of-network costs. So how do those out-of-network costs work? And I have been blown away that the majority of agents out in the field don't know how out-of-network benefits work. I know that we have covered it, maybe not as specifically as we should have as a team, but you as agency owners, you may be appalled if you heard some of the questions that I've got. I nearly fell out of my chair. So what happens when I go to an out-of-network provider? So here's the question, and just think about this and how you would answer it. If I went to an out-of-network provider and I ended up spending $12,500, is that all I'm ever going to pay? Now, I don't want you to answer. I just want you to think about it. So I have Blue Select. I end up going to Florida Hospital in Orlando, who doesn't take Blue Select. And I go and I get an $80,000 medical bill. No big deal. I'm only going to pay $12,500, right? Wrong. Absolutely, unequivocally wrong. And why is that? Because you are responsible for the allowed amount, and 50% of that allowed amount is all that Blue Cross is going to pay. This is something called balance billing. And in the event that your customer, and this happens with all carriers, by the way, this is not anything new to Blue, and this has always worked this way. What will happen is if I ended up going to the hospital out of network, Blue Cross Blue Shield is only going to show the allowed amount for those services, sort of like the Medicare allowable amount, but this is Blue Cross's allowed amount. And then you will pay that allowed amount up to $12,200. But you will also be responsible for the other or the rest of the money, and that's the balance billing. So if Blue Cross says that a particular procedure has a allowed amount of $5,000, but the hospital is telling you that the procedure costs $20,000, you are responsible for the balance of that bill, and the customer is. Now, once we go through that, they're going to apply that $5,000, the allowed amount, to your out-of-network deductible. Once you hit your out-of-network deductible, then you are responsible for 50% of that allowed amount. If we use that same example, $2,500. When you reach a maximum of $12,500 out of pocket, well, you're no longer responsible for the allowed amount. Whoop-de-doo. You are responsible for all the balance billing as well. And there's no cap to that. That's between the member and the hospital and the doctors and the service providers. Sorry for the remedial conversation for all of you that knew this already, but it really concerned me when a couple of people asked about that. And understanding that is very, very, very important. So how do you get around that? Well, first of all, you just tell your members don't go out of network unless you absolutely have no choice. But when you also look at it, you also have to consider the value of an HMO. That HMO is going to function much differently as well because they're going to treat it, they're going to pay the in-network benefits, and then we have to get them settled and moved on to an in-network facility or hospital services provider. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All of my new Medicare Advantage contracts that I have confirmed enrolled with contract numbers are not in my search accounts. I have tickets open for weeks, and it's still not resolved. George, you may want to speak with Mr. Falco on that. I don't, search accounts is just it's a mess. It's the nicest way I could put it. Got lots of other ways to do it. What's that? Yeah, lots of people are saying the same thing, so. Anyone with those issues of access to care, that has to be done with agent services first. Get a reference number, start that process with access to care, and then from there, if it's still not resolved and they are access to care issues, communicate them with Mr. Falco, please. I have several clients who are receiving bills sporadically or not at all since the change in billing system. Are the kinks still being worked out, or should each client call? Each of your clients should either contact you and you can assist them with the billing, or they can call the billing department and make their payment. Remember, December payments are due. So if they did not get their bill for December, most people forget that they have to pay their bills every month. But failure in order to pay that December premium payment could cause your renewal to be terminated sometime in March. Remember that if that policy's grace period is exhausted, all of your hard work goes away, but you won't find out for 90 days. Okay, just so I understand, in the case of an emergency, Blue Select still bills as out of network. Yes, they do. Does that get explained to the customers anywhere in the paperwork they receive? Yeah, in the sample contract that they get that nobody reads. So it's allowed amount. It's on the brochure, which I just showed you. It's in the sample contract, and I think there's a really good commercial on TV where somebody's saying, did you read your insurance policy? And they kind of all laughed about it, but yeah, nobody reads it. So tell them to stay in network. That's the best situation. Blue Select, how do you deal with out-of-network doctors if admitted into a network hospital? Typically, that's global billing. Hospitalists are billed under an in-network hospital, and that typically doesn't apply. So what they'll do in those situations is the hospitalists or specialists that are in that hospital and working in that hospital will typically bill under the same network. You showed the blue options 1410C. It doesn't matter what plan I showed. They all are illustrated the same way. So just have to look at what the differences are inside that policy. Every policy is a little bit different, so just make sure you're looking at the one, but allowed amount, balance billing, all applies the same way. Perfect. Fantastic. Loving it. All right, so that being said, any other questions? I think we're done for the day. Excellent. Oh, one last question. coming in from Justin. If someone elected not to pay the premium at time of app, how long until the bill comes in the mail? Been several weeks now. Well, Blue Cross is communicating to us that all bills are being generated daily, and they're sending out 3,000 to 4,000 bills a day. I have many clients who have not received their bill yet. My advice would be this, Mr. Justin. I would not do an application without collecting payment or scheduling that payment if there is a payment that is due. If not, they're going to have to sit tight and they're going to have to wait. I would just tell them to wait. I would contact Florida Blue if you have a concern about a particular member who may be in their office and ask them if the bill was generated. We've been getting mixed reviews because some people are saying that that they're not getting a bill. They're saying they can't pay until December 15th. A lot of that is hogwash. We know the rules is that about 4 days after the application has been completed, an H number has been generated or a contract number, giving them the opportunity to pay. If you'd like, Justin, you can call Agent Services, get that contract number, log into the View Pay Bill screen that is located inside our cheat sheet. We've talked a lot about that as well. You can then enter in the binder payment. All right. Not going over the formulary. Not doing it. Not today. Sorry, guys. Ms. McCall, I don't understand your question. I apologize. So we can handle that afterwards. All right, everyone. I want to thank you for your time today. Keep up the good work. Let's make it happen. I know that we're not working on weekends because if you are working on weekends, numbers would be through the roof. No, I'm just kidding. I know a lot of us are going bell to bell. Let's keep up the good activity. If you have any questions or you have anything that you need, please know that we are here for you. And anything we can do, let's make it happen. It's going to be one hell of a rest of the season. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the last week of Medicare. 7 days left for Medicare open enrollment. And then we could put all of our resources and focus on ACA. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.